Hello friends, so Bunkle here, and today I wanted to talk to you about the different kinds of clowns. Some of you may know already, or some of you may not know and think that you kind of just get one kind of clown. But I'm going to do a video today explaining the different kinds of clowns and some of the background, where they came from, and what they're trying to do through their character. They're a much more diverse bunch than you might expect. So let's get started. So the first kind of clown is the August clown. So it's the kind of clown that a lot of people might think of when they think of a clown, and it looks a little bit like me. So August clowns came mainly from the American circuses, where they wanted a character who was goofy and silly and would be the butt of the joke. They would use makeup a bit like mine, which would focus on what they call the speaking parts of the face, so the mouth and the eyes. The idea behind that was when you were in the circus ring, you would be a long way away from your audience. So by having this makeup, you would exaggerate your features, and people from way back in the audiences would be able to see your facial expressions and follow along with what was happening on stage. So August clowns are maybe some of the most common kinds of clowns that you might see the most often, and it might be what comes to mind when somebody mentions a clown. So the second kind of clown is what you call the white face clown. So this is where you cover all of your face and you don't have any skin showing. You use white makeup to cover it up. So white face clowns aren't so common anymore, and they might be the kind that you would think of maybe when people are a little bit scared of clowns. Often it's the white face that people don't like so much. I personally really like them, but I think they have a specific place. They were made for the stage. So there's two origins of white face clowns. There's a English origin and there's an American origin. So the first, what you define as a white face clown, was in the United Kingdom and was called Joseph Grimaldi. So he was on stage and he came up with this pantomime character where he painted his face white and he would act a fool on stage. So in a way, a lot of clowns are predecessors to Joseph Grimaldi, and he is celebrated every year at a church service in London for his service to clowning. I'll talk about that in another video, so make sure you subscribe if you want to see that. The other origin story for white-faced clowns is in, again, the American circus. So the white-faced clown was the straight man or straight woman of the circus, where they would play off the August clown. They would be sophisticated and composed and a little bit serious, and they would be quite often trying to complete a task, and the white-faced clowns would just come in and mess it all up and make their life a misery. So they were designed to be the complete opposite to an August clown. Of course, a lot of you will know about white-faced clowns being in horror movies like It, where they've been portrayed as spooky. Now, I think that's fine, and I think it's valid to have the spooky side of clowns, and that could be a whole other discussion that I will have in another video. But I think a lot of that is because the white face was designed for the stage, and when off the stage they're maybe a bit big, a bit loud, a bit bright for everyday settings, so they seem out of place. And that's where the unsettlingness comes from. When you see them on the stage, there's plenty of distance between the audience and the white-faced clown, which is partly why they're so bright and they dress in bright colours and they're very showy. It's because they are designed to be viewed from a distance on stage. So I think that's partly why less and less people are doing whiteface in everyday settings, which may be a good thing. Maybe that it means they're suited more to their original intention of being on stage. Okay, so for the third kind of clown, I'm going to do two at once, so slightly breaking the rules, but they kind of can come as a bit of a collective. So the two I'm going to talk about here are hobo clowns and rodeo clowns. They are both on the cusp of being character clowns, which is my fourth category, but they have kind of found a definition in themselves and they're quite common clown characters. So the rodeo clown is an American clown, which the clue is in the name. So they will go to rodeos and they will provide light entertainment to the audience and kind of historically mess around with the animals. So it would look really dangerous, but they knew exactly what they were doing. They would also be important for safety. They would make sure that they would keep an eye on all that was happening in the ring, and they were actually a core component of the rodeos to keep everybody safe and to keep everybody feeling comfortable. So the other kind, hobo clowns, you may or may not have seen this kind of clown. It's again, clues in the name. So they would use black and red makeup to give the impression they were someone who was down on their luck, drinking a little bit too much, you know, the clues in the name. The reason behind this is that fundamentally clowns want to attempt to do things and maybe try in novel ways to complete a task and struggle and maybe fail the first time, fail the second time, but when they finally succeed, everybody loves it. There's a celebration. So with hobo clowns, they're playing on that feeling of they're down on their luck, and with hobo clowns, they're playing on that. They want the audience to feel sorry for them and empathise with them. So when they fail, the audience is right there with them. But then when they finally succeed at what they're trying to do, everybody is really happy and gets behind them, cheers for them, and you all feel like there's something to celebrate. So that's why the hobo clown is so popular, and that's what it's trying to achieve through the look that people use for hobo clowning. So the fourth kind of clown is called the character clown. So obviously this covers a whole range of different characters that clowns can be, but they're less common, so they're all put together into this category. So a character clown can essentially be anything that they want. So the main thing that links them all together will be the red nose. So you could be a policeman, you could be a fireman, you could be a fisherman, you could be I can't think of anything else. You could be loads of things. And a lot of the time it means you can do a lot more interesting things with your makeup and your look. Oh, mad scientist, that's a good one. You could be a mad scientist. So a lot more and more recently, people have been using the character clown as a way of developing new personas for themselves. And I think in the modern era of clowning, character clowns are becoming more and more popular and are really the way to go if you want to create a new modern character. I personally love character clowns. I think they're great, and I think there's some really good ones out there. The thing is, you've got to have a very clear idea of what your character is and who they are. you've got to set your own rules about how your character reacts and what will happen in the scenario that will get the funniness out of the situation. So seasoned performers can do really great character clowns. They may be a little bit more difficult for someone who's starting out in clowning, where if you choose something like the Auguste, then you have a little bit more of a history to look back at. You can follow slapstick rules, and you can learn skits that will kind of have been performed by Augustes in the past, and you can see how they would act in circuses and on stage, and you can try and learn from that. So Auguste might be a more beginner-friendly option, but as you get into clowning, you can create other characters, and they can be anything you like, and the rules are totally made by yourself. So the last two types I'm going to talk about, I'm going to talk about them together, because in a way they are two ends of the spectrum. So you've got jesters and fools. So this is a very historic kind of clown, going hundreds of years back into the past. Then on the other side, you've got contemporary clowns, which is the most modern category of clown, which you would think from the name. So jesters and fools were in the medieval courts. They entertained the monarchs and wealthy people. These fools also inspired work such as Shakespeare, who created these characters of fools and jesters to provide light relief within his plays, and to give a relatable character which could come on and bring some comedy to what was otherwise could be a very tragic story. So you see fools and jesters less recently, which isn't surprising, but they're still around, and in certain historic parts of the world, and say for example in Norfolk, where I live in the United Kingdom, there are still traditions carried on where fools will dress up and have their bells out, sprawling out as you do, and they will go out onto the streets and entertain people. On the other end of the spectrum, you have the contemporary clowns. So what this often means is essentially people that won't use the traditional makeup or the traditional outfits that you may associate with a clown. So they could look any which way, and they could wear quite often a mishmash of just modern clothing. They will focus on the same principles. They will act silly, they will do crazy things, and they will probably make no sense most of the time. But they are just a slightly different niche part of clowning, where they don't necessarily rely so much on the traditions of the past, and it's more about your own personal clown, where you will just explore your sort of childlike instincts and reactions to the world. Quite often this is done in the form of clown classes, where people who have never done it before will go to a contemporary clown class to just explore what it's like to be like a child again, and just do whatever comes to mind and be in a non-judgmental space to be a bit silly. It's a really good place to start if you want to get into clowning and just try it out. And then if the traditional side is something you're interested in, then you can go that way. Okay, so I hope you found that interesting. There are other kinds of clowns out there. There's loads of different kinds, but I covered the main ones. I've only got so much editing capability at the moment, and I thought I would talk about the ones that I'm most familiar with. Maybe in future I might do a video covering even more kinds of clowns. There's so many different things that I could say about clowns, and I've got lots of videos planned for different topics in future. I think clowns are a little bit of a lost art at the moment. I'm sure that they will have their renaissance at some stage, but right now I just want to tell people about the world of clowns and spread information about the traditions of the past and where we are at the moment. So bear with me about the videos. I'm doing my best and I'm slowly learning how to do them. My camera's not very good at the moment, but I'm working on that, and I've got lots more ideas of videos that I'm going to bring you in the future. So if you want to hear more, then please subscribe, and if you like the video, then give it a thumbs up, and I will see you again very soon. Goodbye. Okay, so I hope you found that interesting. There are other kinds of clowns out there. There's loads of different kinds, but I covered the main ones. I've only got so much editing capability at the moment, and I thought I would talk about the ones that I'm most familiar with. Maybe in future I might do a video covering even more kinds of clowns. There's so many different things that I could say about clowns, and I've got lots of videos planned for different topics in future. I think clowns are a little bit of a lost art at the moment. I'm sure that they will have their renaissance at some stage, but right now I just want to tell people about the world of clowns and spread information about the traditions of the past and where we are at the moment. So bear with me about the videos. I'm doing my best and I'm slowly learning how to do them. My camera's not very good at the moment, but I'm working on that, and I've got lots more ideas of videos that I'm going to bring you in the future. So if you want to hear more, then please subscribe, and if you like the video, then give it a thumbs up, and I will see you again very soon. Goodbye.